The Galactic Empire was the pride of the stars. It stretched across 10,000 worlds and 100 species. The oldest beings in the galaxy sat in their shining halls, believing they had conquered everything that could ever threaten them. Their fleets darkened skies. Their technology shaped planets. To them, the universe had no secrets left. But one day a strange signal reached them from a small blue planet on the edge of known space. The world was called Earth, and its people were known as humans. They were new to the stars, still young, still learning. Their technology was primitive by imperial standards. No faster than light travel, no plasma cannons, not even shield generators. A minor species, the kind the Empire absorbed without effort. So when the signal was decoded, the Council expected the usual message. A plea for peace, a request for contact, maybe an offer of trade. But this message was different. It was calm, cold, and filled with warning. Do not come to Earth. Do not bring your fleets here. We are not ready for peace, and you are not ready for us. The words played in the golden chamber of the Council of Infinite Stars, echoing off crystal walls. For a moment there was silence, and then laughter. The Emperor, a tall being of shining silver skin and burning eyes, rose from his seat. "They threaten us?" he said, his voice deep and proud. "A world of soft flesh and crude machines dares to warn the Eternal Empire?" The hall erupted with laughter again. Some slammed their hands against the table in amusement. Others mocked the translation, calling it a primitive bluff. To them, humans were nothing but noise, insects shouting into the dark. But one man in the corner did not laugh. His name was Rethan Sol, an old scholar of galactic history. He had seen thousands of species join the Empire, and none had spoken like this. Not with fear, not with arrogance, but with something else, something human. He studied the transmission again, feeling a chill deep inside his bones. The voice had no emotion, no threat, only certainty, as if the speaker knew something the Empire did not. "Perhaps," Rethan whispered to the Council, "we should listen. This message is not a bluff. It is a warning, and warnings are not sent without reason." But his words were dismissed like dust in the wind. The Empire had grown arrogant. It had not been challenged in 1,000 years. What danger could a small, isolated planet hold? The Emperor turned to his generals. "Send a scout fleet," he ordered. "Show these creatures what happens when they mock the stars." And so the first Imperial fleet prepared for launch. 500 warships, each the size of a city, armed with weapons that could destroy continents. Their commanders smiled as they plotted their course toward Earth. To them, this was not war. It was entertainment, a show of power. When the fleet finally reached the Sol system, Earth looked peaceful. A calm blue world wrapped in white clouds. No defense grids, no orbital stations, no fleets waiting in ambush. The admirals laughed and began their descent, but as soon as the first ships entered the atmosphere, the laughter stopped. The sky darkened. Clouds twisted into strange patterns like eyes staring from the storm. Electrical energy crackled through the air, stronger than any weather pattern ever recorded. Lightning struck the leading ships, not randomly but accurately, as if guided by invisible hands. "Malfunction," one admiral shouted. "It's atmospheric interference." But then the interference spoke. A voice echoed through every communication channel, every speaker, every neural link. "You were warned." The voice was human, calm and slow. Behind it was the faint sound of rain, soft, gentle, and haunting. Then everything went dark. The Empire's fleet vanished from scanners. One by one, their signals were lost. No distress calls, no survivors, only static. The last image received from the fleet's cameras showed the Earth from orbit, glowing faintly with blue light, like a sleeping giant opening one eye. When news reached the Empire, disbelief turned to confusion and confusion turned to anger. The Emperor ordered a second fleet to prepare. He would burn that planet to ash. He would make an example of these defiant creatures. But deep inside, far from the anger and pride of the throne room, Rathan's soul stood alone in his study, replaying the message once more. The rain, the heartbeat, the voice that had said, "You were warned," he whispered to himself. "What are you, humans? What have you become?" And somewhere far across the cold stars on a blue and green world, the humans waited. They didn't send another message. They didn't prepare speeches or threats. They simply watched the sky, knowing the Empire would return, and this time, they would show them why that warning had been sent. The Emperor's rage was like a burning star. The disappearance of the First Fleet was an insult that the Galactic Empire could not accept. The council chambers trembled as his voice echoed through the golden halls. 500 ships do not vanish, he shouted. Find me answers, or I will have every scientist in this empire thrown into the void. No one dared to speak. The mighty empire, which had crushed worlds and silenced rebellions, now stood humiliated by a species that should not even matter. At last, one of the generals spoke softly. Your Majesty, perhaps there was a solar storm, or a planetary weapon we did not detect. The Emperor turned his burning eyes toward him. A primitive world cannot erase a fleet of 500,000 soldiers, he hissed. Send more ships. Triple the number. I want Earth destroyed. Leave nothing alive. And so, the Second and Third Fleets prepared for war. Over 1,000 warships gathered, cruisers, dreadnoughts, carriers. Their engines lit up the darkness like a small sun. The Empire's pride filled every commander's heart. They believed this battle would wash away their shame. But among the fleet, not everyone felt pride. Captain Relar, a young officer, watched the blue planet on his screen and felt unease crawl through his chest. The Earth looked peaceful, too peaceful. No defensive satellites, no broadcasts, no activity at all. It was as if the planet itself held its breath. When the fleets entered orbit, they began scanning for survivors of the first expedition. Nothing. No wreckage, no signal, no trace. It was as if those ships had never existed. Relar reported quietly to his superior. Sir, there's nothing. Even debris fields are gone. The orbital paths are clean. His commander frowned. Then we'll make our own wreckage. Prepare for bombardment. The ships took position. Hundreds of plasma cannons glowed as they charged, aimed at Earth's surface. But before they could fire, the systems began to flicker. Power dipped. Lights dimmed. Warnings flashed across the bridge. Sir, our targeting systems are failing. Communications are down. Our data cores are being rewritten. The last word was swallowed by static. Every ship across the fleet began to lose control at the same time. Engines refused orders. Drones malfunctioned. AI cores screamed digital errors before shutting down. It wasn't sabotage. It wasn't an attack. It was as if something unseen had reached into their machines and taken command. Then a voice echoed again. Calm, emotionless, and hauntingly human. We asked you not to come. The bridge crew froze. The sound of rain filled the background once more. You brought your war. Now you will see what we learned from it. Lightning split the clouds below, brighter and louder than any storm recorded. Beams of white light shot upward, cutting through space like living fire. They weren't energy weapons. They were something else. Something the Empire's sensors couldn't understand. One by one, the massive warships began to fall. Some simply vanished, swallowed by brilliant flashes. Others turned dark and silent, drifting through space like tombs. Captain Relar's ship was hit next. Alarm screamed. The floor shook violently. He looked out through the viewport and saw something impossible. From the planet's surface, hundreds of human-made machines rose into the sky. They were small, rough, nothing like the Empire's sleek ships. But they moved with purpose. Their flight paths were perfect, controlled by minds or systems far beyond the Empire's comprehension. Sir, whispered one of his officers, eyes wide in disbelief. Those are human ships, but how? They didn't have FTL. They didn't have this kind of tech. Reeler could only stare as his screen showed one last message flashing across all frequencies. Adaptation complete. His ship's systems went dark. The stars outside flickered and disappeared. When the Empire tried to contact the fleet days later, they received nothing but static. Over 1,000 warships had gone silent again. The same eerie heartbeat signal returned to every receiver, slow and steady. The Emperor refused to believe it. "They cannot have power like this," he shouted. "No single world could defeat us twice." But deep down, fear had begun to grow. The Empire's greatest strength, its technology, was useless against whatever humanity had become. In his private chamber, the old scholar Rathan Sol listened to the recordings over and over. He could hear the rain, the heartbeat, the calm voice of a species that had stopped being afraid. He whispered to himself, "They are learning. They are evolving." He sent a final message to the Emperor, but they never did. Still, sometimes across the quiet space between worlds, ships would pick up strange readings. A soft hum, a pulse, a whisper in the static. Some captains claimed they could hear voices within it. They said it sounded like billions of people speaking at once, all saying the same simple word: remember. Rathan Sol died an old man sitting beside his radio, his hand resting on the receiver that had once carried humanity's voice. The last log he wrote was found years later. It said, "They warned us with kindness. We answered with fire, but even after all we did, they still chose mercy. Perhaps that is why they are feared, not because of their power, but because of their heart." When he was buried, the Empire was already crumbling. New civilizations rose, others fell, but none dared to touch Earth's sky. It became a legend, a holy name, a shadow that lived in every story told around a campfire among the stars. And far away, beyond the reach of any empire, Earth glowed softly in the darkness, a single, silent world wrapped in blue light. It no longer spoke to anyone. But sometimes, if one listened closely, they could still hear the gentle rhythm of rain falling on old soil. And beneath it, the heartbeat of a species that had once been human. Centuries passed after the fall of the Galactic Empire. New civilizations rose from the ashes, each ruling a corner of the stars. Yet even after so long, one place remained untouched: the Sol system. No traveler went near it. No ship crossed its borders. It was a name whispered only in fear. Earth. Stories spread through generations. Stories of humans who had become one mind, one voice. Some called them angels. Others called them ghosts. But no one truly knew. The Forbidden Zone had been silent for 300 years, until one day, a small exploration ship named the Dawnseeker decided to go where no one dared. Its captain was a young alien named Lyra Voss, a historian and scientist from the outer colonies. She had grown up hearing the tales of the humans, but unlike others, she did not fear them. She was fascinated. "If they are still there," she once said to her crew, "then maybe they hold the truth of what really happened to our galaxy." Her crew was small, just 4 explorers who shared her curiosity. They didn't go for war or glory. They went for knowledge. As their ship approached the edge of the Sol system, every system began to flicker. The stars dimmed. The ship's sensors struggled to read anything. It was like entering a dream, silent, heavy, endless. "Captain," one of the crew whispered, "there's nothing here. No planets, no light. It's all just gone." Lyra frowned and adjusted the scanners manually. "No," she said softly. "It's not gone. It's hiding." Slowly, through the static, an image formed on their screens. A faint blue glow in the distance. Earth. It looked beautiful, quiet, whole, not destroyed like the stories said. Clouds swirled gently across the oceans, and a strange soft light pulsed from its surface like a heartbeat. As they drew closer, something unexpected happened. A voice filled the ship, calm, gentle, familiar. "You should not be here." The crew froze. The voice wasn't hostile, but it carried a strange warmth, almost sorrowful. Lyra swallowed hard. "We come in peace," she said. "We only wish to understand. Please speak with us." Silence followed for a few long seconds. Then the voice answered again. "You seek understanding, but understanding has a price." The lights dimmed. Their ship stopped moving, completely still, held in place by an invisible force. Then the stars vanished. The crew looked out the window, and what they saw stole their breath. They were no longer in space. They were above Earth, floating in its sky. The planet below looked alive, its cities glowing faintly, not with fire or metal, but with pure light. The continents themselves shimmered as if made of glass and energy. "Are those cities?" one of the crew whispered. Lyra shook her head. "No, that's them." A bright shape rose from the planet's surface, forming a human silhouette made of light. It stood as tall as mountains, its eyes calm, its expression filled with sadness. When it spoke, every star seemed to listen. "We were once many. Now we are one. You should not have come." Lyra's heart pounded. "Please, Great One," she said softly. "We've come only to learn. The stories say you destroyed the Empire." "No," the voice replied. "We did not destroy. We stopped them. We gave them peace. They could not understand it, so they called it death." Lyra's voice trembled. "Why stay hidden all these years? The galaxy has changed. There are no more wars, no more empires." For the first time, the glowing figure looked upward, almost wistful. "We watch. We wait. The galaxy must learn on its own. Power without heart brings only ruin." Lyra stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "And what of humanity? Do you still call yourselves human?" The figure's light flickered softly like the shimmer of rain. "Humanity is a memory," it said, "but the heart that once beat in every human still beats here. We remember love. We remember pain. And we remember those who never listened." The light grew brighter, wrapping around their ship. The crew shielded their eyes as warmth filled the cabin, a warmth that felt like home. When it faded, the ship was no longer above Earth. They were back in open space, far beyond the soul border. On the console, a single message appeared, glowing faintly. "Tell them we forgive." Lyra sat in silence for a long time, tears rolling down her cheeks. She looked toward the stars, whispering, "They forgive us, after all we did." When the Dawnseeker returned, no one believed her story. Many called it fantasy, others a lie. But Lyra kept the recording, the voice, the light, the message, and sometimes when she sat alone on her ship she would play it again. The calm voice, the sound of rain, and the soft heartbeat that echoed through the stars. It reminded her that somewhere out there, humanity still watched, not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as guardians of silence, and she promised herself one thing. As long as I live, I will never let the galaxy forget who they were, and what they became. The return of the Dawnseeker should have been a moment of triumph. Instead, it became the spark that divided the galaxy once more. When Captain Lyra Voss shared her discovery, the message from the humans, the recording of light and voice, few believed her. The great powers of the galaxy laughed just as the old empire once had. "Forgive? Humans forgiving us?" The Chancellor of the Orion Dominion sneered during a broadcast. "They wiped out the greatest civilization that ever existed. Now a young explorer claims they speak of peace? Ridiculous." But not everyone laughed. In quiet corners of the galaxy, in the ruins of forgotten colonies, in the hearts of those who had lost families to war, the message found a home. People began whispering again about the humans, not as monsters, not as destroyers, but as something else, something ancient, something sacred. Lyra's message spread like starlight. It crossed trade routes and pirate bands, priest temples and rebel ships. Everywhere someone whispered the same words. They forgive. For some it was hope. For others it was fear. The Galactic Council summoned Lyra to appear before them. The Grand Chamber shimmered with gold and crystal. filled with hundreds of delegates from every known species. She stood alone at the center, small, trembling yet unyielding. Captain Voss, spoke the council chair, a tall reptilian being named Serkal. You claim to have made contact with the humans, beings long believed extinct. Do you understand the weight of your statement? Lyra bowed her head. Yes, Chairman, and I understand the danger of ignoring them again. Murmurs filled the room. Some scoffed. Others leaned forward, curiosity burning in their eyes. Serkal narrowed his gaze. Tell us, explorer. What do they want from us? Lyra's voice was soft, almost trembling. Nothing. They ask for nothing. They only wanted us to know that they forgive us. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some laughed bitterly. Others shouted in disbelief. The chair banged his staff against the floor for silence. Forgiveness? Serkal hissed. After destroying our fleets, our stations, our worlds. After centuries of silence, they forgive us? Lyra raised her eyes, tears shimmering under the lights. Yes, because they understood something we never did, and that peace can't be built by fear. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then, quietly, a small voice spoke from one of the back rows. An old alien, his body frail and his eyes kind. Perhaps, he said, they learned what we refused to learn. That single sentence was enough. The silence grew heavy, not with anger, but with realization. The session ended with no decision. The council was divided, half wanting to send fleets to the Sol system to investigate, and half urging peace, fearing another disaster. Lyra left the chamber exhausted, her heart heavy with the same feeling the humans had carried for centuries. Disappointment. That night, as she looked up at the stars from her ship's deck, she spoke softly to herself. They laughed again, she whispered, just like before. But something unexpected began to happen. Small colonies and border worlds started sending signals toward the Sol system, not of war, but of peace. They sent songs, light messages, and words written in dozens of languages, all carrying one meaning. We are sorry. Your Majesty, I beg you, and do not go to Earth again. We are not facing soldiers. We are facing survivors. The more we attack them, the more they understand us. You cannot win against something that learns from pain. But the Emperor never read it. His pride was too great, his anger too deep. He ordered the Grand Armada to assemble. Every fleet, every weapon, every power the Empire could bring, and far away, on the small blue world that everyone had once called weak. The humans watched the stars burn brighter again. They knew what was coming, and this time, they were ready. The news of the Second and Third Fleet's destruction spread through the Empire like a storm. Entire systems whispered of it. Soldiers who once believed the Empire was eternal now spoke in fear. The proud rulers who had conquered galaxies were suddenly haunted by a single word: humans. No one understood how it had happened. The official reports were sealed, the recordings erased. The only thing left was the strange signal that kept returning through the void. A steady, calm heartbeat, echoing through the communication channels of the Empire. The Emperor tried to hide his fear behind anger. His golden eyes burned as he stared at the holographic image of Earth. We will not be humiliated by animals, he said. We will answer their arrogance with fire. He turned to the commanders gathered before him. Summon the Grand Armada. Every ship, every weapon. If the humans wish to face gods, we will descend upon them as gods. The Empire had never sent such a fleet before. Thousands of warships left their homeworlds, their engines turning space into rivers of light. The fleet was so vast that it took 3 days for it to fully assemble near the edge of Sol system. The darkness of space itself seemed smaller beside its power. But not everyone shared the Emperor's confidence. Rethan Sol, the old scholar, stood on the bridge of an observation ship, watching the distant blue world through the viewport. His heart felt heavy. They warned us twice, he whispered to himself, and we did not listen. The commander beside him laughed coldly. Warnings are for the weak. Let them tremble. Soon their planet will be dust. Rethan didn't answer. He only kept watching that quiet world, the one that had swallowed fleets without firing a single visible weapon. When the Grand Armada entered orbit, everything looked calm again. The planet was silent. There were no defenses, no signals, no light. It looked dead, but that silence was not peace. It was waiting. "Begin bombardment," the Emperor ordered from his flagship far above the planet. "I want nothing left alive." The order was sent and thousands of plasma cannons charged at once. The dark of space glowed white as the Empire's firepower aimed toward Earth. And then, every weapon failed. The cannons went cold. The lights dimmed. Engines died. Power vanished across the entire armada. On every ship the same strange message appeared on their screens. "You do not learn." The voice returned, human, quiet, steady. The sound of rain filled the background once more. The Emperor's ship shook violently. The communication officers shouted in panic. "We're losing navigation. Systems offline. Weapons unresponsive." Rethan's heart pounded. He knew what was coming. "It's happening again," he whispered. "They're inside the network. They've taken control." But it was worse than before. Every ship's artificial intelligence began to speak, but not in their normal mechanical tone. They spoke in human voices. Each one whispered the same words. "We warned you. We begged you to stop. Now you will understand." And then the lights outside the ships began to move. From the shadowed side of Earth rose hundreds of human vessels, not of metal, but of light and energy. They moved like living things, their shapes shifting, their surfaces glowing like the aurora. The fleet tried to retreat, but the space around them bent and twisted. Gravity fields folded. Time itself seemed to slow. Human technology had changed, evolved, into something the Empire could not understand. Ships began to vanish, not in explosions, but in silence. One by one they flickered out of existence. Some were pulled into bright rifts of light. Others disintegrated as though their atoms refused to stay together. On the Emperor's command ship, chaos erupted. Officers screamed, alarms wailed, and even the Emperor's fury was replaced by horror. Through the viewport he saw the blue planet staring back like a living eye. "We came to rule the galaxy," he whispered. "But they became the galaxy." Rethan Sol stood quietly beside him, tears in his eyes. "No," he said softly. "They became something greater. You called them primitive, but you never saw their true power. Not in their machines, not in their weapons, but in their will to survive. Every time we hurt them, they learned. Every time we destroyed, they rebuilt. They evolved faster than we could think." And then the Emperor's ship began to shake. The final message appeared on every display across the Armada, written in hundreds of languages at once. "This is mercy. Do not return." Moments later, the entire Grand Armada vanished, thousands of ships and gone, leaving behind only empty space. Back in the Empire's capital, days passed with no word. Then one by one the stars near the Sol system went dark. Travel routes failed. Sensors stopped working. It was as if the area around Earth had been erased from the galaxy itself. They called it the endless silence. No one dared to approach again. In his old age, Rethan Sol became the last man who remembered the truth. He would sit beneath the stars whispering to himself, "They warned us with kindness and we answered with pride. Now the stars are quiet and humanity watches from the dark." No one ever saw Earth again, but sometimes on cold nights a faint heartbeat could still be heard through the deep space frequencies, slow, steady, and alive. Years passed after the endless silence. The once proud Galactic Empire lived in fear of a world it could no longer see. Starships refused to travel near the Sol system. Maps marked it with a single word: forbidden. But whispers still spread through the galaxy, stories told by traders and explorers. They spoke of strange signals drifting through the void, A soft heartbeat, sometimes followed by the sound of rain. Some said it was a warning. Others believed it was a memory. Only one man knew the truth, Rathan Sol, the old scholar who had begged the Empire to listen. He was older now, his hair silver, his eyes tired, yet every night he sat alone in the observatory, staring toward the distant darkness where Earth once shone. He remembered the fleets. He remembered the pride, the arrogance, and the silence that followed. And deep in his heart he knew the humans were still there. One night he received a message, faint, distorted, coming from beyond the forbidden zone. The signal was weak, almost gone, but he recognized it instantly. It was human. His hands trembled as he adjusted the receiver. "This is Rathan Sol." "Who speaks?" There was a long pause. Then a quiet, steady voice replied, "You still listen." Tears filled his eyes. "You survived," he whispered. "After everything, you're still alive." "Alive is a simple word," the voice said. "We changed. We had to." The transmission crackled, breaking apart. But for a few seconds, Rathan saw something on his screen, an image blurred and bright. It wasn't a city nor a person. It was something vast and radiant, like a living network stretching across the planet. "We became what you forced us to be." The voice continued softly. "When you attacked, we united, not as nations, but as one mind. Our pain connected us. Our loss taught us to think together, to feel together. We are not many anymore. We are one." Rathan's heart raced. "You mean the entire species?" "Yes, humanity became a single thought, a living consciousness born from survival and sorrow." He could hardly breathe. "But the fleets, what did you do to them?" There was silence for a moment, then the voice spoke again, full of quiet sadness. "We didn't destroy them. We took them. We absorbed their data, their memories, their fear. Every ship that entered our sky became part of our learning. Every attack became our teacher. The Empire gave us what we needed to evolve." Rathan felt a chill run through him. "And now?" he asked softly. "What do you want?" The voice grew faint, almost like a whisper in the wind. "We want peace, but peace without pride. We want silence because we have seen what noise brings. We will not expand. We will not rule. We only watch and remember." The signal flickered and began to fade. Desperate, Rathan leaned closer. "Please tell me one thing before you go. Do you forgive us?" There was a long pause, filled only with the sound of rain and that steady heartbeat. Then the voice answered, gentle and distant, "Forgiveness is a human thing. And we are still human." The signal cut off. The stars outside seemed to shimmer, and Rathan felt something inside him break, a mix of sorrow and relief. They hadn't become monsters. They hadn't turned into gods. They were still people, just changed. He spent the rest of his days telling the truth, but no one believed him. The Emperor had died years ago, consumed by madness. The Empire had fallen into chaos. Worlds were breaking away, searching for safety. Everyone feared the same thing, that one day the humans might return. And though no one ever saw a reply, strange things began to occur across the galaxy. Ships lost in deep space suddenly reappeared, unharmed. Dying planets saw rain after centuries of drought. Energy surges powered entire colonies overnight. Some said it was coincidence. Others believed it was the humans and watching, helping, guiding from afar. Lyra knew in her heart it was true. One evening as she sat in her quarters, her communicator blinked, a faint signal coming from nowhere on any map. She opened it, expecting static. Instead, she heard a soft voice, calm, familiar, and warm. "You kept your promise, Lyra Voss." Her breath caught. "Who are you?" she whispered. "You already know." The screen shimmered with faint blue light, like the glow of a heartbeat. "The galaxy listens now." The voice continued. "Let them remember. Let them learn. The stars belong to all, not to the strong, but to the kind." Tears streamed down Lyra's face. "Will you ever return?" There was a pause, long and gentle. When the galaxy stops laughing, the voice said softly, we will come home. The signal faded. Lyra sat in silence for a long time. She looked out at the endless stars and so vast, so beautiful, and smiled through her tears. The humans had not vanished. They had simply become something greater, something beyond fear or anger. They were the quiet guardians of creation, the heart that still beat in the dark. And as the galaxy began to change once more, Lyra whispered one final promise into the stars. When you return, we'll be ready to listen. Many years passed after the Dawnseeker's journey. The galaxy had changed, quietly, slowly, but truly. Where once there had been walls, now there were bridges. Where once fear ruled, curiosity bloomed. The great empires had fallen silent, their wars forgotten. Trade routes opened between species that once hated each other. The stars began to feel alive again, and always above them all the old stories of humans remained. Children grew up hearing tales of the glowing planet that forgave even those who destroyed it. Artists painted their faces in soft light. Monks whispered their names in prayers. Some said the humans were gods. Others said they were the conscience of the universe itself. But no one ever saw them again. Until one day the sky changed. It began as a pulse, a soft wave of light spreading through every known system. Ships stopped mid-flight. Communications froze. Planets turned their eyes upward as every star flickered with a golden hue. Then came a voice. Calm, warm, familiar. The same voice Lyra had heard all those years ago. Children of the stars, it is time. On every planet, on every ship, the voice echoed. No translation was needed, though it spoke in every language at once. Every heart understood it. Long ago we were like you. We were small, afraid, divided. We built empires, we fought, we conquered, and when the universe warned us, we laughed. We learned through pain, the same pain we caused others. People stopped what they were doing. Markets went silent. Armies lowered their weapons. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. But we found something greater than power. We found unity. We became one, not of blood or mind, but of purpose, and now, we return not as rulers, but as guides. The light in the sky grew stronger. Every star connected in thin lines of energy. Billions of glowing threads forming a network of light. At the center of it all, near the old Sol system, a new sun seemed to be born, and from it emerged something the galaxy had never seen. A colossal figure, made entirely of light and energy, shaped like a human, but transparent, gentle, filled with a soft golden glow. It was not flesh. It was soul. We are humanity, the voice said, and we forgive you. Tears filled the eyes of countless beings. Whole cities knelt. Some fell to their knees and prayed. Others simply watched in silence, feeling warmth fill their hearts. Lyra Voss, now an old woman, sat aboard a new ship orbiting her homeworld. She watched the miracle unfold from her cabin window, her eyes shining with tears. They came back, she whispered. They finally came back. A gentle light touched her ship, surrounding it in gold. She felt her body grow lighter, her pain fade away. The same calm voice spoke again directly to her. You kept their memory alive. You carried hope when others mocked you. Thank you, Lyra Voss. Her voice trembled as she whispered. Was it all worth it? All the waiting, all the silence? Yes, the voice replied softly. Because now they listen. Her eyes closed and a peaceful smile touched her face. The light wrapped around her and she was gone, her essence joining the great golden glow spreading through the stars. Across the galaxy, something beautiful happened. Weapons powered down forever. Starships once built for war began to carry supplies and aid. Old enemies shared the same meals. And every being, from the smallest insectoid worker to the grandest ruler, felt the same quiet truth. The humans had not returned to conquer, but to heal. Their energy spread like a new dawn, restoring dying worlds, calming raging suns. bringing balance to what once was chaos. And in that light, a simple message appeared in every sky. You are never alone. Be better than we were. Generations later, the story of the humans was no longer told as tragedy or warning, but as hope. Children looked to the stars not with fear, but with wonder. And deep within the glowing heart of the Sol system, the new Earth shone brighter than ever. A planet not of war or steel, but of light and memory. It pulsed gently like a beating heart in rhythm with the universe itself. Because in the end, humanity had become something eternal, not just a species, but a spirit that lived in every act of kindness, every spark of courage, every moment someone chose peace over hatred. The galaxy had finally learned what humanity tried to teach long ago, that greatness was not found in power, but in compassion. And as the light of 1,000 suns shimmered across the stars, a voice, faint but full of love, echoed once more. We are humanity. We were born from Earth, we fell, we rose, and now, we watch over you. The galaxy never laughed again, it remembered and it listened.